What if you only have a single cutter, but you want to make several similar shapes? Well, there are ways to use that single cutter and modify your shapes so that you get the variety you want. We're going to do just that, making a pair of earrings using the April Silver Linings CreateAlong Box. Hi there, Sandy Huntress here for CreateAlong. So if you want to modify a cutter like this one, this is part of the Stormy Nights cutter set that came in the Silver Linings box. You probably want to first do a little testing. What I have here are some jewelry findings. These are actually made for making a bracelet, like a 3-strand bracelet, and you would have the 3 loops that would connect the strands. But I'm going to use them to make a pair of earrings. So I wanted teardrops of a certain size that would work together. But I can't make them all this same size because they're just too big. So how do we modify them? It's actually pretty simple. But let's start by making our decorated slab. I have here some clay I rolled out on the 3rd thickest setting of my pasta machine. It's about 1.5 millimeters thick. These ones, by the way, were rolled out on the thickest setting, and I think you'll agree they're a little bit chunky looking, so that's another good reason to make a test. This is the Cyclone silk screen that came in the box. I think it's a pretty cool design. Often we paint with these, but today I'm going to do something different and use mica powders. So I'm just going to take, usually these go slick side down, and I'm just going to take a roller and make sure it's on there well. And this is the beautiful silver mica that came in the box. And you do this a little bit differently than you might other things. You actually want to dump some out. And then spread it with your finger and really burnish it in. It can be a little bit messy. I'm going to do this next part over a paper towel just because it's a mess. So I've got my mica, and I can recover a little bit of this from the silk screen. Probably not all of it. Yeah, but some. And then this will just rinse right off in the sink. Now this looks pretty good. It's like I said, a really cool design, but let's make it look a little bit better by just putting a piece of paper on there and burnishing with your fingers. It smooths it out because the silk screen is a very fine mesh, and so if you look closely at a silk screen design, you'll be able to see that mesh. And by burnishing the mica powders, we help them lay down flat. You can see it's shinier. Now, it looks like I did not burnish the silk screen down well enough with my acrylic roller because there's an area where it seeped under. But that's okay. I'll just cut around that. And now here's the cutter. By the way, these are the other cutters in the set. And you actually could do something similar with the lightning bolt if you like that shape. But I'm going to use the teardrop. And for these earrings, you need to cut out 6. What's fun about this design is that you can cut different areas. So you can have the stripes going across, you can have them going lengthwise. I'm going to cut these so I have them going in a variety of directions because why not? So cut out 6. And you can use the rest of this clay. It will actually just have a really nice sparkle from the mica mixed in. Just mix it up and use it as normal. Here are the 6 teardrops we cut out. And by the way, if you're using a sticky clay, or even this isn't a particularly sticky clay, you might find that it gets stuck in the point. It's such a sharp point here that you just want to grab an awl and every so often clean that out so you get nice clean cuts. So we want to trim some of these down so they are shorter, and actually we want to trim off that point on all of them so that they can be hung. It's very difficult to get a jump ring, a hole and a jump ring up at that very fine point. So we're going to actually lop it off. What you want is a straight edge with just a little bit of thickness, like one of these quilting rulers. I use these all the time in my polymer clay work. And I'm just going to line up my teardrops right on that ruler. grab my clay blade, make sure they're all lined up, and cut off about 1/4 of an inch. You should have across the top about 1/8 of an inch when you're done. So there. Now pick the two that you want to be the center. If it matters, if you like a particular design, doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna just set aside 2 for the center. And now what you want to do is take your cutter and line up that pointy end with the part where you just cut. What we're doing is just cutting these down to be smaller teardrops. And cut straight down, and you're left with the smaller teardrop. Now these bottom edges will be sharp, but all you need to do to fix that is some gentle taps and pats. You can kind of put your fingers there and rub down. You can even pull that just a little bit until that's a nice round teardrop shape again. And repeat for the other 3. Now I've got my smaller teardrops shaped, and we're going to do the same thing we did once again, lopping off about 1/4 of an inch, so there's about 1/8 of an inch across the top. And it's not a bad idea to bring in your hardware and just check and make sure that's going to work. That's pretty cute. I think they'll overlap each other a little bit. Let's see. Let's grab this and just pull lightly and just lengthen it a smidge. So maybe those side ones will clear it a little bit more. Once your pieces come out of the oven, you'll want to give them a rinse. Just under some running water is fine. Mica powder does stick to polymer clay, but only in a single layer. So if you don't rinse off the excess, you will find it coming off all over your hands and fingers as you're working. Now, I didn't add a backing to this to make a texture or finish the back nicely. I wanted to leave these pretty thin so they were light and dangly. So to make the backs nice, what you can do is sand them. This is a sanding sponge with 400 grit sandpaper. It's very fine, and you can just go over the whole back and take off all that extra paint, mica powder, smooth out any fingerprints. I probably could have done a nicer job smoothing these edges before I applied the paint. You can even kind of knock off the corners if you have some extra and just smooth those. Here's an earring I finished. And just so you can see the difference, here's the ones that I sanded and here's the ones that I haven't. And it really makes a very big difference in the professional look of the back of your earrings. You could come in with some more of your paint and your dotting tool and maybe add just a little interest to the back if you want. Once these are sanded, you'll need to drill holes for your jump rings. Start with a needle tool or an awl and mark the placement of your hole. Don't make it too close to the edge. Definitely no closer than the thickness of your drill bit. And then just make a hole. Don't try to drill through with your needle tool, just mark that hole. And what will happen is when you put your drill bit in there, it will stay in that spot and not skitter as drill bits are wont to do. And polymer clay drills very easily. Just pull it straight out to remove some of the excess. You can go back in from the back, clean out that hole. And once you finish your backs, you're ready to make these into earrings. I have here some 6mm jump rings. These are fancy twisted jump rings, but you could certainly use just plain jump rings. And for each one, you just open your jump ring, pop on your dangle, add it to your finding. And I added it backwards. And close up your jump ring. I just wanted to show you the packaging for this finding. They come in so many different names. This one's called a 3-ring filigree multi-strand end piece. They're named various things, so you'll just have to poke around to see if you can find them, but that's this specific one. Once your dangles are added, just open up your ear wire and then close it once you've added your piece to complete your earrings. And there you go, sweet spring rain earrings. And I hope this gives you lots of ideas for adapting tools to perfectly suit your own creative vision. Once again, this is Sandy Huntress for CreateAlong, wishing you happy creating.